on, everyone? So, what is going on with Anthony Davis? So, Anthony Davis had a rough start to the season, and so did the Lakers, right? The Lakers started 2-10. Anthony Davis was not very good. A lot of just disappointment. A lot of people were like, man, come on, dude. Like, you're supposed to be the guy. You're supposed to be taking over. This was supposed to be a big transition year. LeBron James, 38, year 20. He's supposed to be taking a step back, and you're supposed to be the guy, right? He hasn't had the best injury history as of late. Hasn't really been a dominant force since the bubble. In the bubble, he was the best player on the planet. I mean, he was incredible, right? I mean, just from all angles, all fronts, he was knocking down the three ball at an efficient clip, knocking it down from the mid-range at an efficient clip. Just an absolute menace on the defensive end, and just really was looking like, okay, this is why we went and got Anthony Davis, and he really hasn't been the same since. And then you start the season this year, and he's just, again, a bit of a disappointment. Defensively, absolute monster, right? I mean, he's a guy that takes us from like a bottom defensive team to like a top 15 defensive team all on his own. His defensive rating is incredible. Him and Giannis are top two defenders in the league in general. He just covers so much ground and is so good and just contests and does so much. And that was something that he had to fall back on. But then this switch just flipped, and Anthony Davis just became the monster that we hoped. I mean, for like a good 2-3 week stretch, I mean, the guy was just dominant. I mean, playing like the best player on the planet. And it was like, okay, here he is, right? Like, here's Pelican Anthony Davis. I mean, there were points in Davis's career early on where people were saying, like, is he the best player in the NBA? And we saw that stretch. I mean, he's putting up, 35, 40-point games with like 15 rebounds and, 3 blocks, 2 steals, just absolute just monster. And then, of course, he gets hurt. And it's like, oh, man. Like, and you lose Anthony Davis and you just feel the impact. I mean, Anthony Davis, a guy that just has just giant size, but is able to just do so much. He is the ultimate mismatch. A guy that can handle the ball like a point guard, get the rebound and bring it up and go coast to coast at, nearly 7 feet, right? Has a huge wingspan, like just dominant, right? Knock down the mid-range, knock down the 3 ball, make a pass, just good vision, good shot blocking, good instincts, right? All of those things. And he just gets hurt and he goes down, and it's like, man, and we were able to weather the storm a lot, but it really felt like this team turned a corner. This team was it. Like, we're a contender again, right? Anthony Davis, we have a winning record since going 2-10, right? We have the 8th best record in the league. All of those things. Anthony Davis is coming back, right? Anthony Davis ends up missing, 6 weeks, and he comes back, and since he's came back, he has been rough. And even last night was a great highlight. He had 13 points, 16 rebounds, 1 assist. He had 3 blocks and 2 fouls. He was a +8, right? Now, on the surface, you might look at that and go, like, I mean, hey, he had a solid game, right? 13 points, 16 rebounds. Yeah, it's not dominant. It's not, 35, 40 points, but the Lakers won the game. He had 13 points, 16 rebounds is a monster rebound game, right? I mean, that's one thing he's definitely has been doing since he came back from injury. The guy has, like, in the last 2 games alone, he has like 33 rebounds, 32 rebounds. So, I mean, the guy is just, he's crashing the boards. He's getting rebounds. He got 3 blocks. He had 2 huge key blocks that were very important that secured the win for us against Golden State. And again, on the surface, it looks good. But then you look at like, oh, but he was 5 of 19 from the field. He wasn't very aggressive. He's getting bullied by smaller guys. We saw that the last handful of games. Just him not being able to dominate. Him just kind of like even having like smaller guys, right? Like against the Celtics, he had like Brogdon on him and just getting bullied, right? Same thing with the Warriors last night, just getting pushed around and all that stuff, right? And it's just like, come on, man. Like, we need dominant monster AD. We can't afford to lose games. We're fighting an uphill battle just to get into the playoffs. We had just great excitement because we got all these new players who last night were amazing. Vanderbilt was great. D'Angelo Russell showed all the reasons why he seems to be a big factor. Rui Hachimura had a great game. Dennis Schroeder really stepped up big. Beasley had a little bit of a rough shooting night, but still, like, he's a guy that and are comfortable. He's like top 7 in the league as far as like made threes. So like he's gonna turn it around. He's not gonna shoot like he did last night very often. Reeves was getting back into this flow of things. It just was like a really good game. But again, Anthony Davis wasn't that monster. And Anthony Davis had his post-game interview and he talked about it and he just said, like, hey, look, I was out 6 weeks. I got to get my legs back under me. And this is something that even I've said on several occasions. Like, when people bring it up. One, the Thunder game, don't really put too much into it, right? The last 2 games, not this Warriors game. This Warriors game was a little rough. But, like, the game, the OKC game, right? The game in which LeBron James got the scoring title. For being honest, that game wasn't about the winning the game, right? That's not what it was about. It was about getting LeBron James the scoring title, allowing LeBron James to reach that achievement, that accomplishment, right? AD wasn't really aggressive, didn't even really try to take shots. LeBron James scored 36 points and took 20 shots in 3 quarters. Davis, again, he took 9 shots. They weren't trying to get him the ball. They weren't trying to really feed him the ball. It wasn't a game in which the Lakers were really trying to win. They did win, cool, but that's not what it was about, right? Then the Milwaukee game, again, I don't really knock them too much for that game because we basically had like 7 actual players. LeBron's not playing. Why are you going to kill yourself for a game that you're probably not going to win regardless? But Anthony Davis still had 23 points, 16 rebounds. Like I said, he's had 32 rebounds in the last 2 games. But again, he was 9 of 22 from the field. Although a lot of his shots were in the mid-range. A lot of his shots were outside shots. He wasn't aggressive, wasn't physical. Like, the thing that made him so dominant earlier, or I guess mid-season, was he was just this dominant beast around the rim. Aggressive, physical, strong, just going up. The game in which we beat Milwaukee, Anthony Davis looked like the best player on the court. He outplayed Giannis. He was just incredible, right? The guy was he looked like the best player on the planet. And the last few games, he really hasn't. But I really do think it's as simple and straightforward as what he said. I just think, it took him 10 to 15 games to get his legs under him to start the season. He sat for 6 weeks. And the difference is that, like, his injury, it wasn't like he was able to work out. It wasn't like he was able to take shots and work on his game. He couldn't. He had to just kind of hang out and sit back and just let himself heal, let himself rest. And that was something that hurts, right? And now all of a sudden you got to go from just being idle to jumping up and playing 35 minutes a game and being this dominant force. And they need you to get back to what they need him to get back to, right? And it's just, that takes time. Like, even last night you saw in the Warriors game, almost all of his shots, they were just short, right? Like, they were like the shots that even he usually makes, they were just short. Like, it just didn't seem like he had the lift to do so. And people have their speculations, people have their theories. I've heard people go, oh, he's got to be still hurt. He's, maybe that's what it is. And I don't necessarily think that. Like, it's as simple as I think it makes it. What is it? Occam's razor or whatever, where it's like, the simplest answer is probably the answer. That's probably what it is here. It's probably just Anthony Davis. He's a guy that hasn't really played in 6 weeks, coming in and now has to play this like dominant brand of basketball that is not very easy to play, period, and very few people are even capable of playing to that level. The fact that Anthony Davis can even play to that level is a testament to how great Anthony Davis is, but nonetheless, he's a guy that we need to play that way, and I just think he needs to get his legs under him. I do imagine that he will be that dominant, aggressive Anthony Davis that we saw once again. Defensively, he's been great. And I think him and Vanderbilt are going to be huge, huge for us. Because now we got another just defensive juggernaut besides him. Got somebody in Jared Vanderbilt who's a guy that can come in and really make an impact, really kind of change the course of the game in a positive way. I think Anthony Davis and him are really going to be able to help that. But Anthony Davis, he'll be fine. He even said in his press conference, I don't care if I score 12 points or I score 30, as long as we win the game. And that's all we should really care about. Of course, would it be nice for AD to score 35? But why? Just to say he scored 35, right? If he doesn't have it that night and other guys do, let the other guys do it, right? Why? Why would you try to force something that it just isn't happening? It's just not his night. He's not making the shots. But you got a guy like Dennis Schroeder who just can't miss. Why would you, as Anthony Davis, want to take the shots when it's like, dude, I can't find the bottom of the net today. But this guy over here, he can't miss. Starting the game 3 for 3 from 3, has 26 points. The guy's killing it. Why wouldn't I want him to take the shots? Right? It's just not my night. When it's not your night, you let somebody else do it. If somebody else has stepped up, let that person do it. Right? Anthony Davis had 4 points through 3 quarters essentially, but the fourth quarter he stepped up and he was big. No, he had big shots. He had big defensive stops, big defensive plays, even shots that he didn't block. He's still affected and changed. All of those things are huge. I really think Anthony Davis will be okay. Right? Obviously health is a big concern. And, that's always going to be a concern with Anthony Davis. But if he can stay healthy and he can be fine, I really think he can he's going to make a huge impact. And it's not that I think he can. I know he can. And I think he'll get back to normal form. But we'll see. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think of Anthony Davis? Are you concerned? Are you not? Are you kind of it'll be fine? Just got back. Give him a couple games. He'll get his feet under him, and then he'll be back to the races. Or do you think no? It's clearly a problem with him. He's just not that guy. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, again, love to hear them. Let me know down in the comments below.